Welcome to another episode of the Sacred Groves of India of Kerala, conducted by the student of Masters in Landscape Architecture from LS Raja School of Architecture in Mumbai. I am your host Minal Gajjar, and for today's episode, I have with me student, teacher, and a practicing architect, Napoleon Ferdinando. In the last episode, we understood various aspects of the groves in Chhattisgarh, and today we explore the sacred groves of Kerala, linking faith and ecology. Let's begin by giving our listeners a brief image of Kerala.
Kerala is a state lying along the Malabar coast towards the southern tip of India, situated between the Lakshadweep Sea and the rising western Ghats. It is made up of the eastern highlands, having high mountains with undulating terrain and deep cut valleys that lie in the rain shadow region. A central midland area comprising of plains nestled between lush forested hills abundant with wildlife and low-lying coastal plains containing a complex network of intersecting brackish canals, lakes and estuaries, what we popularly know as the backwaters.
Great. Kerala, as we know, is associated with legends and myths that can be deciphered through various lenses. Can you relay one of them?
So, legend has it that a saint, Parsuram, approached the holy rishis seeking atonement for the wrongs he had committed against the Brahmins. They suggested that he should offer them a place of their own to call home. With the help of Varunadev, he was able to acquire the land from the ocean, and in order to make it habitable, he sought the help of the Nagaraj. Now, the Nagaraj, being the king of the snakes, he unleashed venomous serpents who began to cover the land with flaming poison. It purified the land, making the soil fertile and allowing nature to take over, covering the earth with greenery. Parsuram was so pleased with the outcome that he requested Nagraj to bless the land with his eternal presence, and so came about Kerala.
This connects the land to the divine, reinforcing that all comes from the Creator. In a way, it tells us about the nature as a gift to human. This perhaps is also why it's considered sacred. Can you tell our listeners what are groves to begin with and their connection to the gods?
Well, groves in Kerala are known as kavas. There are more than 2,000 such groves spread across Kerala. Traditionally, they were large forest patches devoted to a particular deity or spirit. During the Vedic times, sages would live in these forested areas to gain enlightenment and sing praises of the forest, rivers, and mountains. Guarded by such belief, these groves have remained absent of human presence. These evergreen forests, filled with rare and exotic species, forming a collection of floral diversity, with the ground completely covered with shades of brown leaf litter and decaying branches, shrubs housing a number of insects and animals, and trees reaching for the skies with vines wrapped around them. Because the Nagraj is instrumental in the creation of these lands, groves mainly in the south are dedicated to him and are known as Sarpa Kavas, and those in the north have either a god or a goddess associated with them.
Is it common to have sacred groves identified with god and goddesses?
Yes, in India, dedicating groves to the local god or deities was a common practice of pre-agricultural hunting and gathering societies. There are more than 1,000 deities associated with the groves in Kerala. Shasta, who is referred to as the ruler, is also identified with Ayannar and Ayappan. Ayappan is popularly known to be the ruler of the universe. Nagraj, the king of the snakes, is present in both Hindu and Buddhist mythology. Bhagwati, associated with many groves, is a glorious title by which many female deities in Hinduism are addressed. The fierce Bhadra Kali, also known as Kali, Durga Devi, and Mahadevi, protector of the good, is found in many groves. Yakshi are a class of nature spirits, and their presence can be seen by the lit lamps in the forest. Owing to the socio-religious and socio-cultural aspects, these groves have remained protected by fear and faith. Harm to the grove means harm to oneself and fear of incurring the anger of the deity.
These groves are natural shrines and are the other inspiration for the names?
Yes, a majority of groves are named after deities like Sri Bhagwati Kava and Ayappan Kava. Family owned groves like the Karimanal Chamuktik Kava, which carries the name of the Karimanal Nair family, who was responsible for its establishment. From geographical features like the Valam Churi Kava, which is surrounded by the Echinal Koval River, Valam meaning to go around and Churi meaning eddy, the name indicating the flow of river around the Kava. Groves also derive their names from vegetation, like the Valikattu Kava, which means forest of creepers, as it consists of an overwhelming number of creepers growing within the area.
Names drawing inspiration from gods, nature, and carrying people through history, a beautiful way to be remembered. Since you have described the geography of Kerala, this is a good point to segue into natural setting of these groves.
Now, due to its land profile, moving from the mountains to the coast, groves come in varying natural settings. On elevated hilltops and within flourishing forests surrounded by mountain ranges is the Sabrimala Sacred Grove. Sri Muttappan Kava is located in the Valapatnam River. Palikal Kava is adorned by a mosaic of agricultural fields, green patches intercepted by development and cut by roadways. A kava dedicated to Nagraj is surrounded by water and a mangrove forest on the Idiyalakkadu island in the Kavai estuary. These variations give a sense of the vast area covered by these groves and their diverse setting across the state.
So the land is completely dotted with the groves, sharing religious significance and ecological importance to the place and its people. What sizes are we talking about?
Sacred groves differ in sizes, from 1 cent to more than 20 hectares. Groves the size of 6 cents make up for 25% of them in Kerala. A cent is approximately the size of one's home garden. In groves that are 11 to 25 cents, about a quarter of an acre, 50% of them possess a pond or a tank. Those that are 50 cents, that is half an acre, and go all the way up to 20 hectares, serve as habitats for diverse wildlife.
Coming in all sizes and some even turning up in your backyard, drawing from the association with gods, are there any myths that have evolved alongside urbanism?
Hattur's Vanabhadrakali Sacred Grove shares an edge with the curve of a busy highway. This grove is part of a larger set of dense thickets infiltrated with agricultural fields and urban settlements. The people here believe that the goddess Bhadrakali not only protects the forest and its worshippers, but also the travelers moving along the highway, connecting Karnataka to Kerala. From near misses to accidents, where people in the vehicles have miraculously escaped. The power of the goddess is believed to come due to strict conservation and rituals performed in her favor.
The faith has been connected to the gods and nature. What are the types of festivals are celebrated?
So in the Irangal Kava, offerings of rice from the first crop are made to the deity for the blessing of a good harvest bestowed on the agricultural lands during the festival of Thulam. Puram is an annual summer harvest festival held every year. Tir Kartika is celebrated on the birthday of the deity. Now, in the Manasrala Sri Nagaraj temple, which is home to many festivals like Mahashivratri, Kumbam, Kani, and Thulam Ayalam, marking the changes of seasons, the yield of the land, and its continuing fertility.
We can discern that these religious festivals and rituals create cultural association with the groves.
Yes, through artistic forms such as song, dance, painting, and theatre, these are expressions connecting the spirit world, the natural world, and the human world. Rituals associated with the Nagraj, like Sarpapattu, where song offerings are made to the snakes, Sarparadhana, is a spiritual animalistic dance where it is believed that the devotee is incarnated with the spirits of the snake gods. Sarpam Tulla is performed by the women coming from different stratas of the society. Kalamis Huttumpattum is an entire day ritual. Prayers are chanted and colorful drawings made on the floor. There are dances imitating the movement of the serpent. These festivals involve priests, artisans, musicians, and garland makers, bringing together families in community celebrations having both religious and socio-cultural values of importance.
And then there is a popular Thayyam.
Yes, it's been practiced for more than 1,000 years. There are as many as 456 types of Thayyams, a ritual performed in the open space of the grove. The dances are performed mostly by men, except for a few groves where it is performed by a woman. The artists performing these dances come from the lower caste communities and play a vital role in the ritual. They impart blessings from the spirit and act as counselors, invoking gods and goddesses for health, prosperity, protection from diseases and natural disasters, in some instances, even to nurture the wildlife contained in the groves.
What has changed over the years?
Today, the spiritualistic art form is being reduced to a mere performance and marketed as entertainment to attract tourists, slowly losing its religious importance.
Nature worship works in a manner where offerings were made to nature from what essentially nature provides.
Coming from nature, it's apt that such offerings are made. Offerings of flowers and water are common practices. Other items such as offerings of rice, coconut, banana, betel leaf, and areca nuts are also made. Taking care of the inhabitants of the forest is also of significance. In the Valamchuri Kava, where cooked rice offerings is made to the deity and placed in a clay pot, is then later offered to the monkeys in the grove. Devotees seek blessing in all forms and offerings, and which are generally made from vegetative produce. In this way, networks between nature, spirit, and manna are maintained. This is a sacred connection.
Brilliant. This sacred connection is woven into stories told and myths relayed.
Well, gods are present and represented by trees in these groves. Hence, they are protected, adorned, and worshipped as part of the culture. Trees like the Pala or Devil's Tree are believed to be inhabited by spirits like Yakshi. Specific trees are linked with gods due to the characteristics they display, like goddess Bhadrakali is Eza Champaka, Kali is the Vepu tree, and Lord Vishnu the Peepal tree. Customs followed have helped preserve the vegetation of the region, but today are in conflict with rapid urbanization.
Sacred groves are a treasure trove of endemic, rare, and endangered plants, with many medical and fruit bearing plants as well. Could you tell the listeners about the vegetation in this grove?
The vegetation in the undisturbed groves were luxuriant with multi layered trees mixed with shrubs, lianas, and herbs. The ground humus laden and abundant with fungus and ferns. Medicinal plants are found in the famous combination of four: the common fig, white fig, the peepal, and the banyan tree here. Cuscuta reflexa is seen hanging from trees in the form of a tangled mass never touching the ground and is used by locals to cure stomach disorders and skin diseases. Wild jack, dragonstock yam are some of the endemic species. Rare shrubs like Gloriosa superba and the wild plumbango are still found in these groves. In the Irangal Kavu, which houses rare species like the red-stemmed wild grapevine and the Nilgiri white ironwood. Similarly, in the Valikattu Kava, critically endangered species like Hopioponga and vulnerable species like the Myristica malabarica, among others, are found.
This is a botanist's dream, definitely needing a protection. With such extensive vegetation, how does it feed into fauna present?
There is a rich biodiversity present. Coexistence and codependence can be observed. We know that ants, termites, earthworms, and snakes are constantly working the soil conditions. Rotting holes in tree trunks made by the woodpecker become crevices where bats come to live. In the Irangal Kava, the birds and the bats keep the rodents and insect population in check. Bird droppings rich in phosphorus replenish the soil with nutrients sinking into the ground.
So sacred groves offer ideal nesting condition and help in maintaining essential food chains.
Yes, finding large branches favorable to construct their hives, the Asian honeybee assists with cross pollination of many plant species in the region. Butterflies, a common fauna to all habitat types, are an excellent indicator of ecological change. Endemic to the Western Ghats are the Malabar tree nymph and the Sayadri birdwing. If you're lucky, you may spot the baby five-winged butterfly, one of the rarest species found in Kerala. Civets are considered to be ancient inhabitants, which find large hunting grounds in these groves. The wild boar and the jackals are among the larger mammals that sometimes venture closer to human settlements. Threatened species like the python, freshwater, and terrestrial turtles find refuge in the ponds in these groves. Even extinct species like the Malabar spotted civet has been sighted. But there is no stopping the effects of urbanization. With the continuous fragmentation of the vegetation, the fauna is decreasing.
These groves help protect threatened species, some being aquatic. What role does water play here?
Well, most groves have a pond or a tank within them. Depending on their location, they recharge rivulets, rivers, wells, and groundwater tables in the surrounding area. The Irangal Kavu has 2 freshwater ponds, and locals know it helps the adjoining agricultural lands in meeting its water requirements. Similarly, in the Valikattu Kavu, streams originating from the forest drain into a holy pond and then flow onwards towards agricultural fields. In the Kamadam Kavu, which sits within the watershed of rivulets supplying water downstream, this has led to the formation of a Myristica swamp or a freshwater swamp housing several rare and endangered ferns. In the Mani Kavu, there is a spring that flows throughout the year over a statue of Lord Shiva and then continues towards the fields. There is a clear understanding of the hydrology of the land and its association with the groves, which has helped preserve these systems, benefiting all plants, animals, and man.
People are realizing the benefits of these system of coexistence and codependence and are attempting to restore such connection. Such groves and ecological spaces have been in rapid decline. Understanding the symbiotic nature of the flora and fauna and the vegetation could serve the ecology at large.
So the vast vegetative cover helps improve soil condition and reduces surface runoffs. The toddy palm develops additional roots, reducing soil erosion. The decomposition of leaves, branches, and twigs maintain nutrient cycles. Ponds, springs, streams within these groves recharge ground aquifers, assist in groundwater retention, and release water during the drought season. Birds and animals play an important role in seed dispersion, helping in the restoration of degraded vegetation. The combination of vegetative cover, water bodies, and geographical positioning help in creating microclimates. Did you know the climber bloom releases water droplets from small pores on its leaf margin that contribute to the cooling of its surroundings? Each of us benefit from these processes, but more so humans. As the dominant species, we should inculcate conservation methods in our lifestyle for the preservation of these groves.
What efforts are put forward by the community and the government for the conservation of this grove?
What's interesting is the way the community and the government have come together to preserve these ancient sanctums in Kerala. Programs launched by the Government of India, like the intensification of forest management, was instrumental in initiating protection of sacred groves by the Kerala Forest and Wildlife Department. Detailed management plans were prepared along with active participation from private and public groves, which were put forward to the government to secure financial aid. Such initiatives and participation with government bodies help shed misconceptions. A combined effort helps pave the way for this type of model to be carried forward and adopted by other groves across the country.
So, who are the custodians of this grove? Individuals? communities, government, or all of them?
That's right, it's all of them. The traditional system of management of these areas has been developed to be inclusive for best results. Today, we find government owned groves, private owned, that means owned by a private board or trust, or a family, public owned, that is either by a public trust or a local community. So, groves owned by private boards and public trust play a role in the management, maintenance, and development of religious and cultural programs for the space. Family owned groves are managed by a senior member or a joint family committee, ensuring that a sole member is not allowed to do as he pleases with the grove. Now, the priests are also responsible for the maintenance of the groves and coordinate with local bodies to help out in the maintenance process. During festivals, members of all strata of the society are included, in a way, building community participation, providing for economic growth, and strengthening religious bonds.
In today's scenario, adopting an inclusive management process having multiple benefits is definitely the way to go. Despite these, can you touch upon threats affecting groves?
So, the major threats to the groves in Kerala come with change in policies and the collapse of the belief system. These disrupt the ties between humans and nature. The disintegration of the joint family system with the dispersion of family property has led to the fragmentation of the groves. There is a decline in nature worship, especially since the shifting of the deity from its natural setting into a built structure. Sanskritization of temples, resulting in additional numbers of daily visits and rituals in these groves, in which work against the principles of these areas remaining untouched. The change in demarcation of land zones, making these groves available for urban development and cultivation, has led to the reduction in the vegetative cover.
Very insightful links between religious, culture, man, and nature. What are your concluding thoughts on this discussion?
The human world sits between faith and ecology, a fragile link in our current times. One system rooted in myth, legend, and supreme being, the other stemming from scientific understanding of natural systems. Faith has helped preserve these groves and the wonders that they offer. Only by maintaining the balance between nature and urban growth can the land and all its inhabitants benefit, making us think about the conscious decisions towards shaping our environment and how it affects our lives and those around us. Let me relate an anecdote. A Brahmin traveled a great distance to pray to a deity. When it was difficult for him to carry on making the lengthy journey, he decided to carry the idol back with him to his residence. Along the way, he stopped by a stream to rest and placed the idol near it. When the time came to leave, he was unable to lift it, as if the deity had chosen its new place of residence. Myths like this engage and strengthen the belief system and the bond created between God and man and nature. It is in our continued participation and efforts to build on the existing system which will help preserve and conserve these groves.
On that note, thank you for listening in and stay tuned to learn more about the sacred groves of Maharashtra in the upcoming episode.